Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with an impressions and thoughts video on the new Digimon trading card game. So for those who don't know, the Digimon trading card game is currently out in Japan, not in English yet as of the recording of this video, and it is looking to be a pretty interesting and pretty exciting game. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what the game has to offer, and based on what they currently have out, I definitely am liking what they have so far. So for those who don't know, the game is basically a clone of Chrono Clash, except better. So it's using a lot of familiar elements from Chrono Clash in here and adding its own flair to it on top of that. So the big thing that Chrono Clash was doing was how it was doing resources. So it was using something called the time system. Digimon renamed it to memory, and basically the whole idea is that you and your opponent share this one resource gauge, and it goes back and forth, and depending on where it is, depends on how much resource you have. So the whole idea is once it crosses this 0 mark, it'll go to the other person's turn. All of the cards have a cost in the upper left-hand corner, and when you play a card, you pay with the gauge. And then once it passes 0, it's the opponent's turn, and if they play a card, it'll go and end up on your side, so then it'll be your turn. So that's kind of the basics on how to play some of the cards. The resource system is pretty interesting because it has a nice tug-of-war feel back and forth between you and your opponent. And it tries to make it so that you want to play your cards as efficiently and effectively as possible and leave your opponent with as little resources to work with as possible. That's the first big thing on what I definitely like about the game. The second big thing is the security system. So the security system is basically the health of the game, and this is also ripped from Chrono Clash, but the idea is to basically have a risk-reward when attacking the opponent. So the objective of the game is to reduce your opponent's security down to 0, and then attack them for one last attack to win the game. But when you attack a security, you flip it up and see what the security is. If the Digimon is stronger than the Digimon you attacked with, then you both are destroyed. If you're stronger than the Digimon in the security, then you win and you get to keep your Digimon. But if the security just so happens to be a tamer or option card, they both have effects underneath their name that are their security effects. And their effects on top are their initial effects. Which brings me into another thing that I enjoy about the Digimon game, is the fact that a lot of cards have these two types of effects, their initial effect and a sub-effect. And that opens up a lot of possible design space for a whole bunch of different possible card combinations. So the Digimon also have this two-type effect system, where they'll have an initial effect, and instead of a security effect, they'll have an inheritable effect. And the inheritable effect works and ties in with how Digimon evolve in this game, because if you don't know anything about Digimon, the core concept of Digimon is evolution. So when you go to Digivolve a Digimon, it has two costs. So the first cost, the top one, is its initial cost. So that's just the cost to play the card. And then the cost under it is the evolution cost. So this has a requirement on top of a memory cost associated with it. So in this example, you need a level 2 blue Digimon, and you get to pay 0 memory in order to play this on top of that Digimon. So here we have our level 2. So what you do is pay the cost, put it on top, and now you have your more powerful Digimon. So the inheritable effects are the effects that only work when the Digimon is a source material. So the inheritable effects are the effects that only happen to the Digimon above it, so when this card is a source material. So the whole idea is to take and evolve your Digimon to make one Super Digimon with a whole bunch of different inheritable effects. But obviously that's not always the case, considering some Digimon, depending on what their ability, they don't want to have evolution sources. So when played and when Digivolved are two different effects that are both basically an on-enter effect, it's just how it entered. So there's definitely a lot of interesting possibilities that can come from this type of evolution system, and a lot of combinations that you can make in order to make your own Super Digimon. And it feels pretty good considering you're the one who essentially raised this Digimon, and it adds definitely a more personalized feel to it considering this is the Digimon you were able to raise. So the other big thing that is unique to the game is it has something called a raising area. So you get a deck of baby Digimon eggs that hatch into your Digitama. And basically, this is kind of like a safe zone on evolving your Digimon. So the whole point is to flip over into a Digitama, and then you have a safe spot to Digivolve into. And while your Digimon is in the raising area, your opponent can't interact with it. So it gives you a little bit of a safe time to raise a Digimon, so that way he can be ready for combat when that time comes. Another big aspect of the game that I really enjoy is the deck building aspect, of course. So not only do we have all of these possible options and combinations, there are currently 6 different colors in the game. So there is red, blue, yellow, green, black, and purple. And the 6 colors are all soft color locked, more or less. So the whole idea is you have these Tamer and Option cards, and they both do different things. So Tamer cards are more static cards that'll sit on the board, granting passive bonuses to you, the player, or your team of Digimon. And Option cards are the one-time use cards, but these aren't exactly color locked. So Tamer cards, you could run any color Tamer card you want in your deck. You're not restricted. There is no restriction on how to play a Tamer or what color your Tamer has to be. With Option cards, you just have to have a card that shares the same color on your field as the option. So you could possibly have a red Tamer and a red Option card in your blue deck. It really helps flesh out how you want to build your deck and what you could possibly use to build your deck. On top of which, you have these other Digimon that can work with 2 colors to really enforce the fact that they can be played in either color, or you can make a combination deck using both colors. So I'm excited to see where they go with this kind of concept, because right now all of the Digimon are soft locked to be more monocolored, just because the game has started up and there's not a whole lot of cards in the card pool yet. But it definitely is looking pretty interesting just in concept and theory. So I'm not really going to go into the rules too much, but that's all I really have for this video. I've been really enjoying the time I have with the game. I think the game is pretty solid, and I really hope it comes out in English sooner rather than later, because the game is just really good. Thankfully, the English community has done some really good work on translating all of the cards so we could play it in some capacity, and it's just been a lot of fun. And if you want me to make more content about the game, feel free to tell me in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more content, and I will see you in the next video.